This is part 3, responding to Fatima, Dr. Fatima, who's, well, I think is probably is a colleague at Maryland now, because I think she came here for sociology or is working with STEM. I think I caught that in her talk, or one of her talks. So if so, I'll probably see her in a couple of weeks or a week, because I've done my prerequisites in Maryland. Now I'm starting the graduate level courses in sociology. So. Because I learned sociology or anthropology from Aaron Wildowski in cultural theory, and I'm going back into it, and we'll start trying to publish in it. So, including talking about it. I talk about it anyway. I'm just trying to get the sheepskin. But okay, so the long and the short of it on colonialism was that Dr. Fatima gave up astrophysics when she was on the mountain in Mauna Kea, where they did the astronomy, and the for the first time the native Hawaiians said, no, we're tired of this. This is our religious sacred site. Don't do this anymore. If you've got an option to go someplace else, go someplace else. Last straw time. They got empowered by the water keepers and said, enough's enough for us too. And they were met with colonial oppression. And she described that quite well, and described how ways to fight back, and I think just fighting back and having people move. That's a partial victory. It's winning the battle. It's not winning the war. Socialism is winning the war. Cooperativism is winning the war. Demanding equity is winning the war. Forming cooperatives is winning the war. Taking employee-owned companies, having them, and I've written a book on this. I'm going to be making a series of videos on this. Be warned. There'll be a lot of them, although I think I'll just make briefing charts and talk over them and then just publish those as YouTube videos. So we'll make this easy on you. But have the workers not only on the means of production, but the means of consumption. But start with employee-owned companies, and then go from being share voting to cooperative voting. I mean, you get one share, and then you get a bunch of preferred shares, but you only vote the one. But you get the preferred, so you get more by working there longer, but you still have you're a member. I worked at one of these ESOPs, and it was, you couldn't even vote for the first year, and this fake cooperativism or fake employee ownership. It's ownership by the few over the many. And when I did my exit interview, because I went back, I didn't want to be a programmer for the rest of my life. I had an offer on the table from Marion Barry to go back into politics, so I took it. And they thought, people usually only leave after 3 years. I was like, oh, really? So yeah, that's their business model at Westat. You should be able to vote on day one, because it's your life that you should be in control over. Having your life is mean you vote. You can vote your interests day one. Equality. And you do that, have some improve the egalitarianism of ESOPs. That's one. Elect the leadership, and which the shareholders elect the leadership, but it should be, but first it should be lower bidding. So if you're an executive, you should have to, in an employee-owned company, you should have to, at least one person, if not everybody who wants the job, bid it down. Instead of bidding it up, bid it down, and take everybody on the way with you. If you go down, the other executives go down, and if they don't want to go down, then they make a bid, but they can't really make a bid. So, but the most qualified person will, you put the most qualified in. You have an election. When you get down to qualified people, and you'll know they'll know when they, it'll be an art. They'll know what to do. It's asking the right questions. That's why socialism hasn't worked. That's why it didn't work in Russia. That's why it won't work as a Green Party revolution or a socialist revolution, because the key to socialism is asking workers the right questions. Ask them if they want to consume as a group, if they want to control the means of consumption. It's assumed that individuals will do that, but they've never been asked as a group. Ask as a group. Say, we've got this option of, what we could do is have a store that we own, not a company store, but an employee-owned company store. This is where, we take what was good in the Industrial Revolution but own it. Because it makes sense for the group to control, especially housing. Here's the thing. If everybody if low-wage workers had to be given housing, then, you would have the right number of them, and they wouldn't be as exploitable if they were part owners of the housing. You'd have to have do this in an employee-owned firm. Although, frankly, the way housing is now, offering housing is probably what would have people older than 16 or older than 18 take jobs. Also, and this is on the government side, pay people to go to school after the age of 16, including ESL people. No matter what, and if you're doing education, it's already constitutional law that says if you've got to do education, they can't. If you're an elementary school student, well, if you're doing remedial studies, it should also be the rule that it's a right, that you cannot ask for people's immigration paperwork for them to go to school, and you should pay them to go. So this whole thing about we have our own slavery here because we are colonialism, and we have internal colonialism. It's called slavery. So it's, we need to unionize. We need to insist that workers be given the opportunity to make the minimum wage to go to school. Pay them to go to school, the minimum wage, and raise the minimum wage. We can do this. We can call for this. The other thing we can do is have an asset value added tax, and if you want to sell the assets tax free, to do ESOPs, if you own a company and you want to make it an ESOP, then you don't pay capital gains tax. Well, if I have shares and I sell it to an ESOP, me having shares, that's funny, then the capital gains tax should not have to be paid. Do that, and it will bring about employee cooperativism, because there will be a push that way, and then employee-owned companies can do housing finance, control of the investment portfolio, all of that. Workers control the means of investment, government, schools. You do your own cooperative school, hire the teachers, or pay people, or hire the Catholic schools if everybody learns to behave themselves. Every social service that government does, a cooperative can do. And if you do that, then it expands. So if we make the co-op, if we go to the big businesses, then they can insist that anybody in the supply chain gets the same deal. Instead of exploiting overseas workers, whether they're in a subsidiary or they're in a supply chain, you insist that they have the same standard of living with their purchasable that you do in your wages. And then we won't be arbitraging jobs and wages. We'll be, but that can only happen with employee ownership. And it's got to start here or other countries. That model has to start. And it has to start with employee-owned companies being asked the right questions. Do you want to have a store? Do you want to have a building? Do you want to have, you want to have housing? Do you want to build houses for your members? Do you want to do the financing for your members? This is how to make socialism work. You ask the questions. Marx didn't know the questions to ask. Lenin didn't know the questions to ask. Most socialists don't know the questions to ask. I know the questions. So, yeah, and we'll be getting to that. So, I didn't quite get to Hawaii, and I'm running out of time. But if we do that, then the people who work in Hawaii that support the facility, provide services at the facility, they're upset because they're living in poverty comparatively. If Hawaiian natives had the same economic opportunity and the same wages, the same economic support, a child tax credit that is enough to live where they are. This is what the people on the telescope need to say, that they're going to fight for equality of the native Hawaiians with everybody else in the islands. And the other thing they need to do, and I guess I can finish in this video, the people who are on the island or in the astronomy need to be required to learn the Hawaiian religion, to know why it is sacred. If you want to work there, you got to know. You got to take the classes and know, and then set up a way to then honor that religion, the native customs, by bringing them up to the observatory, giving them planetarium shows, all of that, making sure they have a life that is like your own. If, people demand justice when they don't have economic justice. Make sure they have economic justice. Berkeley and University of Hawaii, get them economic justice, and develop a worship center, a cultural center, with the light producing, in the early evening, a little light pollution ain't gonna kill you. If it involves fire, yeah, and have a zone where it's dark, and and share the experience. Don't treat them like they're stupid. They will love what you love if you show it to them. Be authentic about it. If you do that, they will join you and you will join them. They will join you. Fight for their welfare. It's not a press release thing. It's not just, naming something. Fatima talked about that. No, make sure that they have full economic equality, and that you know the Hawaiian religion and even practice it a bit. It's like being in Gaza and saying, maybe we should become Jewish. Well, maybe if you're in Hawaii, you should learn how to be a Hawaiian. Become a Hawaiian in spirituality. You can be a Christian too, because they are usually, but you got to learn the Hawaiian part too. If you're on that mountain, you better be worshipful to what that mountain talks about, or you need to get the heck off. So that is the demand to make. Full equality. And then you'll get someplace. So yeah, it's not just protesting and saying no, it's joining in and making community. That's what workers need to do. That's what oppressed people need to do. Don't become the colonialists like people do when they get hurt, they hit somebody else, but really claim equality with them, demand it, by doing what they want to do to be equal. There are rules, so follow the rules and learn the Hawaiian religion. And that's part 3. So it'll be a 3-parter. Thanks a lot.